Barrow, Scotland, which means today we must be making Scotch eggs. So the first thing we need to make is the boiled eggs. So a nice neighbour the other day dropped off some eggs from their chickens, and we're going to boil those. And I want to get a soft boil so that we get hopefully get the inside of the Scotch egg still a little bit runny. So to prepare for that, we need a bowl of ice water ready to put the Scotch eggs in when we're done, and we need some boiling water. Now, the way I do soft boiled eggs is I don't cover the egg in water. I just put about half the egg depth in there, and we effectively steam them. The reason for doing it this way is if I put in like 6, 7, 8 eggs, the water doesn't cool down and the eggs will still boil properly. So let's get that water up to a boil first. Okay, so my water is now boiling. You can get a better angle. I'm going to drop in, we're going to do 6 eggs. You can see how they're not fully covered. Actually, I'm going to do 8 eggs. There's plenty of room there. 6, 7, and 8. And now we put the lid on and we set a timer for 6.5 minutes. So for our Scotch eggs, we need some sausage meat. And American sausage meat's quite a different flavour to UK sausage meat. So we're going to make our own sausage meat today. What I purchased was a pork butt, and this has a bone here. And what I want to do is take all this meat off, and I can do this obviously whilst the eggs are cooking. And then we're going to actually put it in the blender. So first of all, I've got to get the meat off the bone. So my timer just went off, so we're going to remove my eggs from the boiling water. And we're going to put them in the ice water. And that will stop them cooking any further. So in theory, we will have our soft inside. So one egg there actually looked cracked, so we'll be able to test that one. So I've got about half that pork in the food processor. And you can see I've chopped it up into smaller chunks so the food processor can handle it. And I'm now just going to blitz that to get it into a smoother texture. So I've blended that, and you can see now I've got a texture that's much smaller pieces, and it can kind of be pushed together and it'll hold together. So this was actually just half of that butt shoulder thing that I had, so I'm going to do the other half now and just put this in a separate bowl. So we now have our well, you'd call it ground mince. It's basically pork that's been put in the blender, but this isn't sausage meat yet. To make this sausage meat to be like an English sausage, we need to add a few things. So key ingredient is breadcrumbs, which if you've been making your own sourdough, you have left crusts, just blitz them in the blender. And we're going to put in quite a lot. There we go. So that's about 1/3 of that container. And we'll just bring this together. Okay. And then we're going to add, I like to add for flavour, minced onion, black pepper, and salt. So what we actually do is we're going to make this, and then we're going to fry a small piece of it in a frying pan, just so we can see how we've got our seasoning. So quite a lot of the onion. It's a nice strong flavour. And I'm actually going to do half a batch separately after this, where I'm going to add some chili flakes, chili powder, and try and spice it up so I can have some spicy Scotch eggs. Black pepper and salt. And we're just going to mix that all together. So now I have my eggs, which are soft boiled. So when you're peeling them, you want to be careful not to crack them. Then I've got some egg that I'm going to be using for dipping. Then just breadcrumbs, and then a plate that I'm going to put the breaded sausage meat on. So I want to take the chunk of that sausage meat, which I did test, and it was perfectly fine for what I want, and we're going to make this into kind of a patty. So I want to make it flat, because what we want to do is be able to seat an egg in the middle of it and wrap it around. And we don't want it too thick, because that's just going to alter the cook time quite a bit. So I think something about that size should do it. We'll find out now as I try and wrap one of these. And again, I want to be pretty gentle with this, because you can crack the egg like I just did there, which is not what you want to do. And the reason I probably cracked that is I didn't have that quite spread out enough. So I'm just going to put that one down for a second. That's what we do. And then we want to try and make that into a nice smooth shape around it. Make sure all the gaps are sealed. That one isn't. I probably could have done with blitzing this a bit more. It's a little lumpy. I think we'll be okay. Then we just roll it in the egg that we've put in there, and then want to just smother that in breadcrumbs. So now we'll take the Scotch eggs that we just prepared, and we're going to put them in the deep fat fryer. It's set about 350 Fahrenheit again, and I'm just going to drop them in. So I'm just going to drop them in with this kind of spoon ladle thing. That's one. Actually, I'm just going to put it in with my, it's a bit deep for my hand, so I'm definitely going to use a ladle. Two. And you want to watch that you don't put the height here too high, otherwise you'll end up with a fat fry. So we're going to leave that for about 4 to 5 minutes until it's golden brown. We'll see how they do. So the timer just went for 4.5 minutes, so we'll pull these out now. They're a good, maybe a little over brown, but who am I to complain? And these are some chunky Scotch eggs. And the last one. So the big question is the center runny? And look at that. Spot on. There we go. So there we go, Lisa Ingham. Your request for Scotch eggs has been performed. Somebody commented they can't make a comment on the YouTube videos. That's because when you set something as child friendly on YouTube, they disable comments. So feel free to comment on the Facebook posts, and let me know if there's anything you're requesting. Hopefully this video series will be coming to an end soon, and people will be able to go out and about. Anyway, stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.